everybody, welcome to Bones Collector. Today on Bones Collector we're continuing our series where Lori and I are playing our way through our board gaming library. The reason why we're doing this, of course, is to show you up close and personal the mechanics and what the game looks like physically on the table. In the top 10 videos and top 100 videos that we do, we only talk about each game in a few brief sentences, and it's very difficult for the viewer to understand what that game is about. So I'm hoping that by doing this, you will have a clearer picture actually on how the game plays and what it looks like and whether you would like it or not, because ultimately that's why you're watching, right? So we're going to play a couple of games, 2 or 3 games each week, and make a video about it and pass it on to you, and I hope you enjoy them. Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to Bones Collector, and today we just got done playing Neta-Tanka. This is the deluxe version. Neta-Tanka came out in 2019. It's a game designed by Herve Rigal. 1 to 5 players if you have this deluxe. The retail version is 1 to 4 players. It's a worker placement game and a set collection game, and the winning condition is most points. Now when I saw this game, when I found out it was Herve Rigal who designed one of my favorite games of all time, Shakespeare. If you haven't played Shakespeare, it's a phenomenal game. It's in my top 20 all time, I believe. But it's just an excellent game. So when I saw he designed this, I was very curious about it. And I've told you guys that before. If someone designs a game that you really, really love, check out their other games. And so I wanted to play this game. And before we went to Dice Tower Con East, this was on the virtual flea market for $25. Played once, and I said, hey, let's just get that. I want to play it. And we did. We picked it up and brought it home and played it. Now, first I'm going to talk about the deluxe game a little bit, what that adds to the package other than retail. And you get some wooden bits, really. Some different things that aren't in a retail edition, like these wooden totems and screen printed nomads. These wooden tents that go on your board, once they're completed, they go in these holes. Double layer player boards. Some extra canoe tiles. This mountain expansion. A couple extra gold cards, I believe. These wooden buffaloes that you need to slaughter in order to provide nourishment for your people. And then this is the visiting nomad is screen printed. You get an extra faction of nomads, the purple group. And the boxes that go in the game itself. Upgraded resource tokens that are wooden, and I'll show you those. Right there they are. Yeah, you get this box with the game, and these resource tokens are wooden. Where they're probably, I would imagine, they're tokens, cardboard tokens or cardboard chits in the retail edition. Yeah. So anyway, you get a little few extra things in this deluxe edition, which doesn't change gameplay whatsoever. However, I do want to say that this double layer player board is really unique. They made it so that it just folds down, and then that's your second layer. Because a lot of times those dual layer player boards in your board games will start to warp, and this is pretty nice. I would imagine that'll stay pretty flat because of it. But that was really, I don't think I have another game that ever did that, but that was a good idea. And the game was published by Le Bois de Jeu, game box or box of game or something like that. But I really like the looks of it's really pretty on the box lid. I really like that, and I think they did the art. The art is very nice. This Neta-Tanka, and in this game, this is a game about finding a new Neta-Tanka, someone to succeed. The guy that's going out, the old guy like me. He's getting ready to retire, and he's looking for a new Neta-Tanka. So you are performing worker placement in order to try to position yourself to become the first Neta-Tanka. And that's what this game is about. It's worker placement. How does it work? Well, it is really, let me tell you about this game. It's a tough game. And by that I mean it will twist your mind. The rules aren't hard, but making things happen in this game to score points is difficult. If you score 50 points in this game, you had an amazing game. Our scores were 36, 48, 33, 41, those kinds of scores. So this isn't an abundance of points. It's not a point salad game. And that feels kind of weird at first, because when you're placing your workers out here, you have to resolve them all. Each player on your turn, you resolve every one of your workers in your turn. and I'll elaborate on that on a second. And so when you're doing that, you kind of think about, okay, I need this resource or that resource to perform that action or to get that action over there. So you have to resolve those things in an order that makes those things happen for you. So when you're placing your workers on the board, and in a two-player game, you get 2 colors of nomads. You get 4 of your player color and 4 of another color. So you got 8 nomads at any one time in your player area, and you only place 6 of them on the board. And when you're placing these workers, you just simply select spots on the board that you want to go to. And what you want to think about when you're doing that is you have a link line that goes between every worker's placement spot. So if you place your workers like these 2 right here, you would take a link token, this is called, and lay it on that link, and then you would also take that action because you linked those spaces together. So when you're placing those workers on the board, you want to do that. I mean, you want to do that because this is a game of inches, folks. You want to get everything you can possibly get because, again, points are hard to come by. So as often as possible, you want to link your worker placement spaces. It's not always possible. It's not always wise to do, but for the most part, you want to try and do that because it gets you extra actions and or extra resources. So it's something that you want to do. And I forgot to mention there's a 2-sided board, by the way. There's a summer side, which is the other side, and this is the winter side. We've played it on the summer side, just the base game. We played it on the summer side with the mountain expansion, and we played the game on the winter side with the mountain expansion. So we played this game 3 times right in a row, and I wanted to get a feel for it. Oh, by the way, this little wooden canoe token comes with a Kickstarter too. This game is 5 rounds long, so the pressure in this game is created by the fact that there's only 5 rounds for a 2-player game. As the player count goes up, the rounds go up. So in a 3-player game, it's going to be 7 rounds, and in a 4-player game plus, it's going to be 10 rounds, excuse me. So in a 2-player game, we're going to be playing for 5 rounds, and man, that's pressure packed because you place all your workers, 6 of them out there on the board, trying to link them together. And then once everybody's placed their workers, once both players have placed their workers, then you resolve in player order all of those workers. So you're going to take all those workers and all those links and resolve them one at a time on your turn. And then the next player will go. Now there's also some cards in this game. There's the handicraft cards that are a set collection mechanism. Not to mention they also have points on them, but you want to try and get sets of 3 different of these handicraft cards. They have pictures on them, and you want 3 of them to be different, and you get a bonus of 5 points for every set you can make. And then these are Neta-Tanka cards, and you have to go visit the Neta-Tanka, which is the center space, in order to get one of these cards, and they give you bonus actions or bonus resources. And believe me, they're very helpful if you can get there. But you're going to be fighting for these spaces. And it gets very tight even in a 2-player game. Because in this game, also, when you are gathering resources, the resources have to be on the board. In other words, if they're not on the board, you don't get resources unless it has a little picture of a little green hand. Let me see if I can find a card. Yeah, like this here. This card here has a little green hand underneath it. It comes from the reserve. That's the only time you can take a resource from the reserve. Now, once these resources that are on the board disappear, you have to go to a worker's placement space to replenish them. So if you are out of wood and mushrooms up here, someone's going to have to go to this space right here to replenish them. Now, you get paid for doing that. You're going to get a generosity point for doing that. The resources in this game are wood and mushrooms, meat and hides. The mushrooms and meat are nourishment resources. The hide and wood are resources you're going to use to build tents and your totem pole. But the totem pole board is something that you're going to have to pay attention to. The person in the lead with the tallest totem pole is going to get 8 bonus points to end the game. And if you want to get any more points, if anybody else wants to score in this game, they have to be in second place and to get 4 points. And it has to be equal to or higher than 5 on your totem pole. And the mountain board I really like in this game. It added some places where you could go and get do 2 actions if you can pay the resources on the active tile on that board. And it opened it up just a teensy bit. I was able to, actually, when we used that board, I got my highest score of 48 points, the best I've done in this game. And it's very difficult. You have some tokens on here for the one link spot that goes there right here that's blank. And if you link your workers right there and get that link, you can get one of those tokens. And there's a bunch of different choices there that help you out. And then up here, these canoe tiles, there's 4 of them in the game, and then what they call final tiles. There'll be 4 canoe tiles and 1 final tile in the game. And you can, in this game, and on this tile right here, you can see it. If you go up here and pay these resources, you can get the visiting nomad and the first player marker, which comes in the expansion. I don't know what it is, probably a token in the retail edition, but you can get the first player and retain the first player by doing that and get that visiting nomad, and that gives you 1 extra action space, but there are restrictions on where you can place him, and that's what I mean in this game. In most games, you get an extra guy, you can place him anywhere. What's up? Go on. So you can place this guy, but he has to go in a space that's where it already has a worker, and it cannot go on an elder space, which are these spaces with dotted lines around them. These 4 elder spaces. The Neta-Tanka space is in the middle. The 4 elder spaces are the 4 spaces on the outside of that Neta-Tanka space, and then every place else can only have 1 nomad on them, unless you're doing the copy action, which you open up with putting nourishment out there. That's another thing, and I don't want to get into it. But yeah, this game is about resolving, placing all those workers, and you're asking yourself, how am I going to score points? Am I going to build some tents? Am I going to get some nourishment on my board? Am I going to build my totem? How am I going to score points? Am I going to get some of these handicraft cards? And then how am I going to place resources like these handicraft cards? You get one, you have to go to a worker space to get one, first of all. Then you have to go to a worker space that specifically places resources on your handicraft card. And this needs 3 wood. And you have to, it only places 1 at a time. I don't think there's any place where you can go and place two of those at one time, unless you go to 2 spaces or get a link that says you can place a resource on there during your turn. But man, I mean, this game is, oh my gosh. It was weird. It took me a while to get used to the feeling of this game, because again, it's not a game of riches. This is so tight. You are working very hard up here to try to put this thing together to score very minimal points, and that can be very taxing on you mentally. And like I say, we've played this game 3 times in a row. I'm ready for a nap. That was really, it's really a difficult game to link together. And that's a great term, because that's what you're doing in this game, and you want to do those things. Do I like this game? Yeah, it's a great game. I expected it to be a good game. Like I say, Shakespeare I'm in love with. I'll never part with that game, and this game is phenomenal. It's a great design, very strict type of worker placement game. You're going to work for every point you get, and it's pretty neat. But again, I don't think this game's for everybody. If you don't like to work that hard for points, maybe something you don't enjoy. But again, the meat of this game is placing those workers on the board in spaces that you can string together and combo together in order to get the things you need to score points. So more than once in this game, and even on the 3rd play, I put a nomad out there thinking I had gotten the resources I needed, because you can resolve one in any order you want. You can resolve them in any order. So I'm going to resolve my nomads that are going to gather resources first. I'm going to do that first, because that's not going to change. And then you take your other nomads that you put on worker placement spaces that provide actions to place building materials in your tent section so you can build your tents, or to place nourishment in the food section in order to score those points and get unlock the copy action, which allows you to place a worker on a space that's already been occupied, and there are restrictions to that also. Or you're going to place resources on these handicraft cards to score points. So, man, I mean, I didn't expect this. I expected the game to be good. I just didn't expect it to be like this. But I like it. I like it a lot. And it's going to stay with our library for a long time, because I really like it. It's an excellent Euro game. And I love the deluxeified edition here. But even if the retail edition, I mean, of course, if you've never had this, you wouldn't miss it. If you never had the deluxe edition, it doesn't matter. I just really like the way this game is designed. I like the way it plays. I can see people getting this game, playing it one time and saying I don't like it. I really can, because it's different. It has a different feel to it. You have to play this game 3, 4, 5 times and then make a decision whether you like it or not. I really like this game. It took, the first time I wasn't sure how much I liked it. I knew I liked it because, again, it's a great design. And then after this third time, I really like it. It's a great game. But let me talk for a minute about the board a little bit. I didn't talk about that. On the board, it has different sections. This is wood, where the woods where mushrooms are gathered and wood is put out. And it has pictures on this board that are really cute, is why I'm pointing this out. Guys chopping wood up here, and then you got people from the village out here gathering mushrooms in the woods. These guys are pulling on cables, pulling up a big totem pole, and that's where you're going to take some totem pole actions. And then you go down here, and this person's doing the handicrafts because the handicraft cards are over there. And then these guys are building tents, because you build tents in this game. You get these wooden tents, and you get score points for those. And then over here is the buffalo, because that's where you're going to gather meat in this section here in order to trigger certain actions and pay for certain things. It's got a guy on his knees over here with a bow and arrow. He's going to shoot one of these buffalo, which isn't a good idea, but you know, back in that day probably was. And then these people over here are cooking meat on this grill and tanning hides. So this is because you got hides over here, so they're doing a tanning process over here. But you know, and then you have the elder spaces and these beautiful tents here, and then the Neta-Tanka himself standing in the middle of the board. I just really like the art on this board and the way it was laid out. It's a really cute and elegant game, and I'm afraid it's never going to be popular because I just don't think people will take the time to enjoy what was put into this game. But I like it, and I'm going to keep it, and that's Neta-Tanka, and by Herve Rigal and Le Bois de Jeu Games. Okay, guys, I want to take a second and just show you how neatly everything is tucked away in this Neta-Tanka Deluxe version game. And let's take the lid off real quick. Take the rule books out, and here we have the mountain board that goes right there. These are totem tiles, and then you take these double layer player boards out, and everything's in a box, and then the game board is underneath there. So I really appreciated the production of this game, and it has an icon on it for what goes in there. And there's your canoe tiles. These are your handicraft cards, your Neta-Tanka cards, and your end game goal cards. And these would be all your pieces, like your nomads and all your tokens and stuff that are there. And then these are your resources, your mushrooms, hides, wood, meat, and so forth, and your skulls, and they're all, and it's got a tray that I showed you during the game in that box. So yeah, everything's nice and neat and tucked away in here. I really like this production of the game and the way that they developed and designed this box to hold everything nice and neat. I really enjoy it, and I like games that do that because it makes playing them a lot easier, because your setup is quicker, and it makes putting them away easier also. So I really enjoy that, and I always appreciate it when I put the lid on right side up like that, and we are good to go. I wanted to show you that. Hey everybody, welcome to Bones Collector, and Lori and I just got done playing Shakespeare a couple of times. And Shakespeare is a game that came out in 2015, is designed by Herve Rigal, and the art is by Arnaud Damage-Neriac. And I want to mention that because the art in this game is fabulous. And then it is for 1 to 4 players, so it has a solo variant. It uses an action point system, auction and bidding, and there is some open drafting, and the winning condition is a player with the most prestige points. And there he is, the guy himself, Shakespeare, the greatest poet to ever live, I guess some would argue. I certainly would not be able to argue that point. The game itself is physically well produced. You have wooden bits, bidding pieces that you're going to use, wooden pieces to keep track of the different act tracks, act 1, 2, and 3, and your prestige trackers are wooden. The money's cardboard, it's thick enough, it's nice. The theater pieces and the jewelry pieces are cardboard, but the art on these cards is unbelievable, and I mean just absolutely fabulous. We have these sleeved. I love this game so much. I hope it comes through, the passion that I have for this game, Shakespeare. Let's see, what else I want to tell you about it. The box is flimsy. I hate that. You know how I hate that. But it is what it is. I'm not going to get rid of the game this time because of that. And this is the insert. It has a place here for both decks of cards that you use, and then one slot for each of the player colors. You baggy them up for different color players, and then all the rest of your pieces and stuff fit in these slots here. And then the boards lay on top. So it says Shakespeare right there. That's pretty cool, I thought. But the box could have been a lot thicker, but it's good. I mean, the game itself, folks, I'm telling you, this game is so wonderful. Just everything that you do in this game is thematically tied to putting on a play. You are a theater manager and you're going to put on a play. And the play is done in 6 days, and you'll have a couple of dress rehearsals, and then of course the end of the game is the play itself. And man, I tell you what, just absolutely incredible. Oh, let me cover one more thing that comes with the game. You get a glossary of actor cards. Yeah, that's Lori's phone. And you get a glossary of actors cards and a glossary of the objectives. And then of course your rule book that comes with it. And I'm going to hold up one of these theater boards. Okay, so this is your player board here. And on this board you have the ambience of your theater. You're going to have a marker on there that's going to move back and forth, and you get rewards or punishments for where that ambience marker is during the game at the end of each day. If you have it up this way, you're going to get a coin or move up on one of the acts or get a prestige point. And if you're on this side, you're going to have to take away, move one of your markers down on one of the acts, and then or lose a prestige point. So you get punished if you're not paying attention to that. Then this is your theater set pieces, where you're going to be acquiring theater set pieces and putting them right here. And that's tricky too, because when you take those, they have to be, what's the word? They have to be put down a certain way. Like on the edges, if you have a purple on this end, you must put a purple on this end. If you have a blue second in from the left, you must put a blue on the second in from the right. Now the middle, you can put anything you want, obviously, because you don't have to match it up. But they have to be matched up according to their position on this board. And then also, you cannot put a piece on the second row unless the 2 pieces below it are completed. So if I had 2 pieces right here, I could put one here, but I could not put a theater piece here. And it becomes tricky because you want to get those things built up as much as possible. But not only is that tricky, but the pieces themselves, you get a bonus for the color of piece that you take. And this card tells you what happens when you take that color of theater piece and place it on your board. So you get things like a coin, or move up 2 on the ambiance track, or get a +3 token that you can add to your craftsman. Or if you take a gold piece, and we'll talk about those later, but they're wild. If you take a purple theater piece out of the market here, you get to place that, and your opponent loses 1 on the ambiance track. And if nobody takes the purple out of that market, both players at the end of the day are going to lose 1 position on the ambience track. If there's 2 of them in there, you're going to lose 2 positions, and that happened to us during the game. So you're fighting that. There's that push-pull. Should I take that piece to stop both of us from getting that punishment at the end of the day? And then if you take the purple, yeah, I think I said that, if you take the purple, your opponent loses a position. So it makes you want to take those purple pieces so that you don't get punished at the end of the day. So that is something to think about also when you're doing this. And there's so much in this game tied with, and again, you're building your theater. You're building your theater, getting ready to put on that play. So it's very important that you do those things so that you can score points for it. And then, I guess I better talk about these characters also. These are your starting characters that you're going to use. There's the queen, and then this craftsman here, you can get jewelry and theater pieces that add up to 4. The queen, you can get $4, or you can take 3 of these objective cards with the queen on them and look at them, discard 2, keep 1. And that's, you can score that at the end of the game. And then there's Falstaff. It says Falstaff right here on the side. That's his name, and he's an actor. And if you activate him, you move up 2 spaces on the ambiance track right here. And if you activate Shakespeare himself, he's got 2 white feathers there. Those are wild for the axe. The axe are red, yellow, and blue. And if you activate white feathers, you can move your marker up on any track, so it's wild. And that's pretty cool. And that's what you start with at the beginning of the game. And then when you start the game, you draw from a market of 4 cards here and add to that. So really when you're starting the game, you're going to have 5 places to place your tokens. And that's how many you have in the game, is 5. Okay, where do I start? So this board here, I told you about the different acts here, and they do different things. This red track, it gives you coins. So if you're this far, you get $1. If you get to these spaces, you get 3. If you get to these spaces, you get 5. And that's only during the dress rehearsals. In this yellow track, whoever is in first place on the yellow track gets 2 prestige points. Whoever's in second place gets 1 prestige. The blue track, you have to make it up to this point to get anything. So if you make it this far, you get 1 prestige point. If you make this far, you get 2. Now, if you don't make it, like if you have a dress rehearsal and you don't make it out of these beginnings right here, you lose a prestige point. We played this game twice. Lori won once, I won once. Both times the winner scored 23 points. So you're not going to score a lot of points. So losing a prestige point for anything is really hurtful. You want to try to avoid that, but it happens. And that's why the scores aren't real large. But the track only goes up to 30, and they say a good score for 2 players is 26. We didn't do it both times today, but I don't care. We had a great time. Yeah, and so you can see on my player board here how I almost got my theater filled up. And then I forgot to point out also, once you fill up these 2 rows, along with thinking about all the stuff I told you about, once you get up here, you can start placing pieces, and you see these candles. That's the icon for prestige points. If you cover that up, you're going to get a prestige point. So getting this bottom part of your theater built in the proper fashion is important, because once you start building up here, you get prestige bonus points for covering up those spaces. And oh man, I tell you, just this part right here is a game. It's so incredible. This is why this game is in my top 20 all-time board games. It's just absolutely fabulous. Everything about it is just wonderful. Actors go on one side of your board, and the craftsmen go on the other side of your board. And the actors have 3 faded circles on the bottom of their cards, and you're going to recruit 1 card on every turn. Okay, so that's going to give you 1 other space to go to activate. And on the bottom of those cards where you have those 3 faded circles, that's where your jewelry pieces are going to go that you're going to get out of this market. So you're going to put those jewelry pieces on here, and then you add those up. And on your player board, I know it sounds confusing, but on your player board, you add up your jewelry pieces. Like in this case, I had 13. That was the best I don't know if I've ever done that before playing Shakespeare, but I had 13, which got me up to the highest reward, and that was 3 prestige points. You get rewards according to the amount of jewelry, because that's their costume. That's considered their costume, and that's why you're putting it on these actors. You're dressing them up. So for 6 to 7 points, you get $2. For 8 to 10 points, you get $1 and a prestige point. 11 to 12, you get 2 prestige points. And 13 to 15 points, for their costume, you get 3 prestige points. So there's a lot going on in this board, and there's a lot going on in this game. It isn't a great, big, expansive game, but here's how the game is going to work on your turn. You have in your possession, when you start the game, 5 bidding tokens, okay? And you have to look and see what jewelry pieces are available, what theater pieces are available, how many activation spaces you have. Under the table, without anybody looking, you're going to decide how many you want to bid, how many actions you want to take during that round. And here's the deal. You have 5 tokens, but you have to make sure that you have that many activation spaces, and you have to kind of look and see what's available. So what do I want to activate? And when you do that bidding, all players, you decide how many you want to use, how many tokens you want to use, and then you yell reveal, everybody reveals. Whoever bid the lowest gets to go first. And that might be important to you, because you looked at, and maybe you have the jeweler, and he has the ability to be activated this round, and if you can see, there's a gold piece out here. You have to have the jeweler in order to take a gold piece, and those gold pieces are wild. You can put that gold piece, that gold theater piece, anywhere in your theater. You don't have to adhere to the rule that says, what is that called when they have to be?
Symmetry.
Okay, you don't have to adhere to the symmetry rule. That's the word I couldn't think of earlier. Because you have to build this theater symmetrical. And I told you they have to match in position on this theater, but the gold doesn't have to match that. So if you can get a gold piece and you're stuck, and on this card it tells you how many's in each theater piece. In other words, the green only has 4, the gold has 4, the blue has 5, the 3 purple has 7, the 2 and the 1 each have 8 apiece. So you're watching those things as the game is progressing. Maybe there's a green one you've used on your board, your opponent has 2, and there's 1 that's been discarded. So you know you're never going to get a green piece. You have to find a way to get a gold piece in order to create the symmetry in your theater to continue building up on your player board to get those prestige points at the top of the board. So that's the type of things you have to think about in this game. But if you want to go first, if there's a card in the market that you want to recruit, you have to have it. Maybe it's the jeweler. Maybe you have nobody to get theater pieces with except the one on your player board. Maybe you need this. This has 8 points I can spend, 8 theater action points. And so when I activate this card, I can go over here to these theater pieces. I take everything but the gold. You have to have the jeweler activated to take the gold. But I can come over here, and for 8, I can take 2 pieces. We can see there's 2 4s there. I could take both these blue pieces, or I could take the green 5 and the purple 3. So I can take those in combination. And I get a bonus for the color of those. So that's what you want to think about also when you're looking at that. Oh my gosh, there's so much to think about. And then your actors have, when you activate them, once you fill out their jewelry, like I talked about, oh darn it, I'm going to take these back off, sorry folks. Once you fill up their jewelry, they also have a bonus that you receive at the dress rehearsal, after the dress rehearsals. And there's 2 of them. There's 2 dress rehearsals. This Lady Macbeth, I love this lady. Lady Macbeth. When I activate her, you can see she has a white feather, so she gets a wild. I can pick any track and move my marker up 1's position when I activate her. And on dress rehearsals, if I get her done early, there's 2 dress rehearsals, look what she gives me. 1, she moves up 1 on every track. Oh my gosh. And I did activate her pretty early, so she helped me out quite a bit. So that's the type of things you're going to plan for and things you want to do when you're selecting and recruiting actors and your craftsmen. Oh my gosh, what a great game. Then, once you've won the bid or whatever your place was, and everybody's taken their turn, I'm going to take these off and show you what I'm talking about. So, let's say I bid 4, and I've used 4 tokens during my turn. I've activated 4 cards. And let's see, Lady Macbeth. So I've activated those 4 character cards and craftsmen during my turn. So when you reset for the next day, you have to look at those 4 people and say, which one of those do I want to use next round? Because you have to deactivate the rest of them. When you're doing this, you've already reset the board, so you know what theater pieces and jewelry pieces are available. You know what characters are available, so you know what you want to do. So you're looking at your cards and saying, I gotta have those jewelry pieces. I have to finish this actor. I have to get their costume finished because the next round might be dress rehearsal. I want their costume finished so I can get that benefit. So I'll take this marker off of here and put it back in my pool, and then the rest of the markers on here I have to put an X on because they have to rest the next round. And this is another thing, it just eats your brain up in this game. What character cards do I want to rest the next round? You have to ask yourself that because you're not going to get them. Don't get to use them. You get to use your mark. You get all your markers back, but those guys you have to rest, and that hurts. This is one of the most elegant, beautiful Euro games I've ever played, you guys, and that's why it's in my top 20 all time. I don't know how popular this game is, and I really don't care because I'm in love with it, and I can tell you without a doubt, if you play this game, if you like a medium complexity Euro game, because you're going to think in this game, there is some upkeep at the end of each day to do, and you have to do them in order. It's written in the book of what to do. We really need to make a card.
I think it's right there.
Yeah.
It's down the day reminders down at the bottom. I think that lists everything.
So there's a day reminder right here that tells you what to do. But you have to keep that handy because you got to do those things step by step. So that kind of thing, if you don't like doing that, if that bothers you, maybe you wouldn't like this game as much. But oh my gosh, that's nothing. I mean, just we need to put that on a card though, so that we have that handy at the end of each day and how to set up for the next day, because this game is so worth it, folks. I bought this game used. I don't even remember what I paid for it. We played it at a convention and we didn't play it right. I knew that. Because at a convention you're reading a rule book trying to, let's see this works like, and you're going as fast as you can because you want to play as many games as possible while you're there out of somebody's library. So we had this game and we were playing it, and we decided, Lori said, I didn't like it, and I said, well, I don't know. It felt okay to me, so I came home after the convention and I watched a couple of playthroughs of Shakespeare. And I said, oh, I see what we did wrong. Oh, I understand how that works. Oh, and then after I did that, we were able to find this game used, picked it up, and every time we play it, we say the same thing. It's just one of the best games we have. This game is magic. This game is perfection. This Herve Rigal. And on this video series, or this particular segment, we also did Neta-Tanka by him, and that's why I bought Neta-Tanka. That's why I searched that game out, because this game is absolutely magnificent, and I wanted to see if he could follow that up, and he did. Neta-Tanka was wonderful. It's not as good as this, you guys, but it's good. Neta-Tanka I love, and I hope that came through in the video. I absolutely love Neta-Tanka, but this game just is at another level. There's not enough superlatives to describe this game. It's just absolutely one of the best games you can play. Fabulous, exciting, amazing. What else what other words can I think of? It's just incredible, elegant. Yeah, I mean, I can go on and on and on. It's just an absolutely wonderful game, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is my opinion of Shakespeare. I love it every time I play it, and I hope you will too. Give it a try. Bye-bye. Hey you guys, just an addendum to the video. One thing I meant to mention and I forgot to, and there's so much to this game, but the money economy in this game is so tight. Everybody you recruit, and you must recruit every turn. Everybody you recruit has a cost of hire. It doesn't have to be paid to the end of the game. So what we do is when we get the money to pay this person at the end of the game, we put it right on the card. But like this Lady Macbeth was $5. That's the most expensive I think you can get in the game is $5. But money is tight. We both had at the end of the game $1 left over, and you will end up with none or one. You're not going to have some money in this game because it's just a balancing act on recruiting and paying these people. You have to look at it and say, oh, can I afford to recruit that person? And then also, if you feel like, well, I don't have enough money to recruit that person, you can flip it over and it can be called an extra. And the extra actually has 3 places. You can put a costume on him, and he has a benefit on dress rehearsal day, but he doesn't cost anything, and that's the most important. And you may find yourself in a position where when you have to recruit, you can't afford to pay. You're like, it's going to be the end of the game. I'm not going to have the money to pay that, so I'm going to flip it over, and it's going to be an extra. I just wanted to cover that with you because there's just one more thing to think about when you're playing this game. This is just intellectual magic, this game. Hey, Shakespeare. Okay, everybody, that was a couple of games out of our library that we wanted to share with you. We're doing this video series to show you in depth, a little more in depth about the games that we have in our library and what it's like to play them, so that you can take a look at them physically, what they look like on the table. And also I wanted to tell you that these videos probably don't come out as often or as frequent as I would like them to, because we're very busy. We have lives that we continue on with, and with grandchildren and so forth, and children that we have, and so we're very busy in that regard, like you guys are. And I don't ask for money. I don't get paid for this at all. Lori and I just do this because we want to share our passion. The only payday that I get is when you comment on the videos, or when you tell me. I think one of my viewers, Christoph, told me, hey, I bought a copy of Aqualin because you recommended it and I played it with my kids and we loved the game. You were correct. It's a very good game. That's my payday. That's the type of things I really like that make me feel good. It goes way beyond a monetary reward. And thank you for those comments, and please keep them coming. We'll try to get back to you as often as we possibly can. I love every one of you guys. And always remember to keep on board gaming. It's the best hobby on the planet. Bye-bye.